New month, new material. Let's go and talk about some great educational content that we can all learn from. Hey everyone, I hope you're well, playing and making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Principal Mission Designer, Max Pears. Absolute pleasure to be having you with me. Please forgive the state of my place. As you can see, I've just recently come back from holiday, so I've still got some stuff in the background. If you are choosing to watch this via YouTube, you'll be able to see that. And if not, just imagine a messy office, because that's what mine is. But I thank you. July has been and still continues to be a very busy month for me. I said went away, and then Develop just recently happened as well. We'll talk a little bit about that later. And kind of just making sure that I'm really keep putting these out. As I said, it's each month is going to be a little bit different just because of the challenge in terms of content. But thanks to our incredible editor, Mahad, who is helping us constantly stay on top of this for it. So thank you, mate, as always. Start of the month, so we know what this is about. Now, you'll be hearing this in August. I said it is July when I am recording this, so please do forgive me. And what we're going to be talking about is that of incredible resources that I have found and I think are worth sharing with everyone, as I believe there is incredible content out there. After all, I do not know everything, and it's important for us to constantly read, learn, and grow. So, without further ado, let's go to numero uno.
But first, let's have a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is none other than me. What I've done, everyone, and I hope you're excited for this, is I've actually created a level design kind of store. What I've done in this store is put up different kinds of tips and tricks that you can find there, whether that be my actual ebook itself, to that of level design pamphlets focused on different things such as traversal, stealth, breaking into the industry, as well as different talks that I have done which you cannot find anywhere else other than on this store. So if you are looking to improve on your level design skills and processes, then check out the Level Design Store, which will be down in the description below, where there'll be a link to find this. All you need to do is head over to gumroad.com/level design lobby. I hope you like what you see, and I look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you, and now back to the show.
And the first one comes actually from a YouTube channel by, I believe, former architect, is that of Dami Lee. Some of you may have seen her videos already, but she does incredible breakdowns of architecture in different well-known franchises. Star Wars is the one we'll focus on, but Akira and Studio Ghibli and others, and generally talking about kind of the design process as a whole. And I really enjoyed her most recent video on Akira, but the one that really made me think that this is an incredible channel for us to all check out really goes to that of the most disturbing prison in the universe, which is talking about the prison on Andor, where if you disobey, the floor will shock you, and how they use kind of not just actual torture methods to keep you in line as a prisoner, but also the mental fear, doubt, paranoia in the actual architecture itself to cause that, and really using real life examples, different architects, their philosophies, and then applying it to how she believes they came up with the concept in Andor. And it's a great one, again, just to think about how we can use architecture in different ways to communicate subconsciously, not only to the player, but to ourselves as designers, and translating that into different ways that we can possibly make the player feel certain ways in certain settings and get a sense of it instantly when they arrive, versus having to explicitly sell it through narrative ourselves. And obviously the incredible environment artists that we all work with and concept artists can help instantly sell that to the space before we need the player to be told about it as well. And that was a really fascinating one to see. She references many different architects in that one, but talking about the psychology of white torture itself, saying I think it takes under 2 minutes if the entire room that you are in is white, how you can slowly lose your sense in many ways of yourself by just having just one color in a room. And how can we use that? We talk about color theory a lot in general, so there's ways that we can use these sort of for it. And I thought it was just a generally great one, again, by herself, her team that work on this one. So yeah, all of these will be in the link description down below, which you can go check out and make sure that you go through ahead. The second one, actually, resource itself, is a book I wanted to share, which is called Emergent Tokyo, Designing a Spontaneous City. Now, this one actually comes from a recommendation from Dami Lee, as I mentioned on her video for Akira. And to me, it's just an incredible book that has a lot of diagrams for it to help you understand more, pictures, reference, and how you can see Tokyo itself has not necessarily the sense of a European grid-based system, but also the elements too where it has constantly grown. Tokyo, I believe it is, if not the largest metropolis city, is the second largest to Mexico City, possibly. And just how that keeps expanding, and how they have resolved certain things with certain architecture for certain districts. Space is obviously very valuable for it, and incredible diagrams for it as well. So I think it's a great book to look at, kind of, again, just the aspects of real life design. A lot of us work with open worlds, whether that be in PvP or PvE, and just, again, how can we turn that around to actually sell the spaces we have and sell the narrative, but also the understanding of these spaces that we build for different kind of elements itself, regarding so much so in that of how the city was built. Is it built on top of each other? So think of something like New York or Shanghai. Or is it kind of built, as we talked about more traditionally, say Warsaw or Budapest, where it's much more grid kind of based for it, right? How do we commute between each sections for it as well? What is it that we can give that kind of sense and purpose to it? So it's a great one. It's currently on sale if you're in the UK. It's down to like £15 instead of 20, which is great. And yeah, just strongly recommend. Yeah, I've got mine on order from this, so I'm excited to see it with it. Now, resource numero tres, or ch from back in Poland, comes from that of a great interview with, I'm sure many of you have seen this game out there already, for those of you who may not, but it's called Little Kitty Big City. And it's an adorable, very much a game where you play a cat that has fallen out of its skyscraper home and now must figure out its way through fun little puzzles to get its way back home for it. And I didn't realize this was created by a former Valve employee. His name is Matt T. Wood. And it's a great interview to talk about like how he designs. He was at Valve for 16 years, working on many games like Half-Life 2, Left 4 Dead, Portal 2, and others. And he talks about an aspect that I think not many developers think about very early on in terms of what they're looking when they're designing their own game. He's saying he's a big believer in selling products, right? So for him, he really needs to think about different tricks to get people to catch eyes on it. I think we're seeing a really interesting time in the indie space in general. Indie doesn't seem to be at the forefront as much as it used to be, right? In terms of big, well, I guess because E3 no longer exists, but you'd have much more of a presence of them there. They're still very much there, but maybe even to a detrimental point, right? When you think about the amount of indies and games released on a regular basis, it's hard to get the attention of viewers on it, right? So he mentions how he thinks about that in terms of like how important facial features are for selling someone, as people connect a lot. So he talks about that constantly in Frame for it, which I think is a really interesting one. Yeah, and kind of just talking about how he designed the game to keep players' engagement, with it being a puzzle game. Obviously, you can run into an issue or a challenge being that of basically how it can become stale fast. How do you make sure it's not repetitive? I'm not going to give his answers here because, as I said, it's worth the read itself. But yeah, talking about that of being a cat owner himself and going through that. So I think it's incredible to see. And again, just how different people design. I'm always fascinated, especially right now, right, when we think about, like, sadly, how much the industry has been impacted by layoffs. well, seeing people start off on their own and making their own games on studios, I think is inspiring and kind of brings very much hope for myself in seeing this and people being able to do that. I think America is much more set up to encourage that than, say, like Europe and the UK. But again, it's just one to see and really appreciate and cheer on our fellow brothers and sisters as they go off and do this. So great interview for it there. The fourth one. Now, this one, I think we've mentioned the channel before, but I really appreciated this one called by Matthew Encina. Really, it's him breaking down that of him striking on as a graphic designer. He was a former member of The Future, which is an incredible kind of design marketing company, which if you haven't seen, do go check them out as well. But Matthew used to work there. You see his work, and it was a great one for it. But he went off and went on his own. And he talks about how he's gone off and now designed a mechanical keyboard. I don't know about you. I have what I believe is a decent keyboard, but seeing that there is so much love and a very huge niche for mechanical keyboards out there is quite impressive and also mind-blowing to me. But he's gone off and actually designed his own mechanical keyboard. It's his whole product breakdown, and I think that's really important for us to see. Like, I love seeing people design different products from levels, whether it be watches, the mechanical keyboards, and their process. Everything we can learn from that. What is it that we can take away with it? And it's an incredible process. It's a good 22-minute video, but he goes from the very start, from the concepts to it, kind of what inspired it, his inspirations, his reference gathering, all the way up to the announcement of the product. I believe it released last month of recording this in June, and it looked good. I mean, like I said, I'm in no need for a keyboard personally, but it looked nice if you're into that niche. My favorite combination was the walnut and black. I have a lot of walnut in my office. Yeah, I thought it was great, and again, just a new way of seeing design, a new perspective shifted for it, so I would recommend that. And the final one, this is the book, just knocked over everything out of the way, Shaping Interior Spaces. Now, I believe we talked about a talk that mentioned about this and used this reference a few times, and he'd mentioned that the book is very dry to read. It is. I'd say one thing that just annoys me, and I get why people do it after releasing my own book, but when you have black and white screenshots, come on, you know. But I get why it costs more to print in colour. But you can see kind of different ways they talk about furnishing and kind of furniture layouts for it, and I really appreciate these kind of things. It may not be kind of designing for how we design in terms of combat, traversal, but kind of how it can really affect a space for that of an actual human walking through a space. And one of the challenges that we have is elements of making sure things feel believable, so we can play on these and use that to help us sell that of a space. And I think that's really cool to see. Again, a bit dry to read. I have not read all of it yet. It is very much on my to-do list, but just really a really great way to look at something different for inspiration for us, for it all. And you never know, again, which diagrams might inspire you and kind of bring it for you there. So that is the final recommendation. So let's go and list off all the recommendations we've had this week. And that one is numero 1, which comes from Dami Lee, which is the most disturbing prison in the universe, breaking down that of architectural designs and psychology when designing prisons. We then have Emergent Tokyo, designing the spontaneous city. Hopefully you can say that better than I can. Third one was interview with Matt T. Wood on how Little Kitty Big City was designed and marketed to steal hearts. Then it was that of Matthew Encina, how I turned an idea into a product, his keyboard. And then the final one is that of shaping interior spaces. So thank you all very much. I hope you've appreciated this. Again, anything you want to share, please share with me. You can reach me at Twitter, which is @MaxPairs. Email into the show, leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. And just looking forward to seeing that. The more resources we all have, the better we can make life and learn to design very, I guess, just more intriguing ways for it. You know, nothing wrong with looking at games. Great to hear other developers share. So thank you all very much. Take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you all next time.